I was more than prepared to just sit here and let She-Ra exist without ever having said a word on it from its release. Unfortunately, the media and certain subsets of the internet would not shut up about the show to a degree that it became so annoying that I finally said, okay, I'm going to put my 2 cents about the show out because this show is being vastly overhyped and overcredited for things it didn't do, it doesn't do, and it absolutely doesn't deserve. First, I'm going to talk about the elephant in the room. This is the single gayest show I've ever seen in my life. I don't normally give a shit about that. I don't talk about that. I don't even mention it unless it's pivotal to the story, which it's not really here. The reason I bring it up is because every fucking media review that I've read has included words like inclusive and diverse and other some such buzzwords that mean OMG, it is just super. Thanks for asking. And then the creator of the show, the show's director, will not shut up about it. Every time she's in an interview, she goes on about how gay it is or how inclusive it is to gay people, this, that, and the other. They fucking opened up the door, so now I'm having to talk about it. Because if I don't, it's going to seem weird that I don't even mention it once. This is absolutely the gayest show I've ever seen. And I've seen a few episodes of Queer Eye. This show was made entirely for the creator to go, look at how progressive I am. Look at how virtuous I am. Won't you praise me for having gay characters in a cartoon? I am so edgy for doing this. That kind of bullshit. You can tell that this is done by a person who doesn't actually care about progress or anything like that. She just wants to look good to her Silicon Valley friends. Let me give you an example of a show that actually does this correctly. The Dragon Prince show that came on a few months before She-Ra, it has a deaf woman in it. She's basically captain of the guard or general or whatever specific title they use in this fantasy world for the head of the kingdom's military. She's deaf. She only speaks in sign language. You can tell she's reading lips. She can't hear a damn thing. But she can, like, has heightened senses, feels vibrations, if it's really big, those kind of things. She has a sign language interpreter with her as one of her officers. In the show, it's never made a big thing that she's deaf. She just is. The creators, as far as I'm aware, have never made a big thing about how they're so wonderful for having a deaf character in their show. They just put her in. That's how you do it. You include a diverse character and just have at that. You don't make the show seem like it's more special because it has that. You don't make the characters in the show seem like they're better because of that. You just make it, and that's it. That is a show that did it right. This, on the other hand, feels so forced. And yes, I know that He-Man and to a lesser degree She-Ra felt really gay because of the style and especially He-Man and the homoeroticism of the show in general. It was never intended, and it's something of a spoof that people have made over the years. This is a show that is absolutely meant to be gay, and the creator has talked nonstop about it and how wonderful she is for having done it, as if she's the first person to ever include a gay character in an animated show. And I'm going to be real here for a minute. The whole, well, why wouldn't you want this? This is going to bring representation to people that normally aren't represented. Gay guys, lesbians, they aren't normally shown in shows, and this makes them feel better. So why do you hate that? Look, I'm bisexual. Okay, so I'm not speaking out of my ass here. Gays and lesbians have been represented in television, movies, video games, etc. a lot more than bisexual people. I think the one area where bisexual people are actually represented to a roughly equal degree is video games, because BioWare and a lot of characters can go either way. But especially in television and movies, you're either straight or you're gay. Very infrequently is it ever even acknowledged that bisexual exists. LGBT, the B is bisexual. Transgender gets more representation than bisexual ever has and probably ever will. The only show that I can think of that actually had bisexual characters where it mattered was Korra, because in the last season, uh, the two girls hooked up with the hand holding thing. It was pretty obvious that they were going to do that throughout the whole season. It was still a bit surprising that they actually went through with it on network TV. I've come to learn that they passed that through, uh, hidden behind the censor's back, which doesn't shock me. But still, even if that scene didn't exist, we could tell what was going on. You didn't need to spell it out. That's the only show I think I've ever seen where I can say that they were bisexual, because they were both interested in the same guy first, and then later on they became a couple. So unless it was a complete retcon, they're bi. They have to be. I can't think of any other show where bisexual characters have ever mattered or existed to a degree where that was even known. For all I know, they were just gay characters or straight characters, and that's never bothered me. I've never been like, oh, there's not enough bi in this, I can't watch this. Why do people feel that they need to be represented in something? I don't give a shit about bisexual characters, and they don't exist anywhere. So why do you feel it necessary to have gay characters exist when it's not necessary for the story? Same thing, like, what does it matter if they're straight unless it's necessary for the story? The way it's necessary is usually because romance subplot. That's fine, sure, whatever. Doesn't matter what they are, there's going to be a romance subplot. Okay. Otherwise, why is it necessary? I say that for all mediums, not just animation. And that you don't feel like you exist unless it's pointed out that a gay character is in a show. That is so pathetic. I don't know how you get through life. Okay, that's the end of my little rant there. Let's actually go back to the show. First of all, I don't know who this show is made for. Allegedly, it's for preteens, that age demographic girls. No, it's not. I can say for absolutely certain that it is not made for that age demographic, because the main villain and the hero have this extreme sexual tension between them, and it's rather obvious that it's extreme sexual tension. Little kids would not understand that. they would just see friends fighting at worst. If you're, well, if you've come into the age where you have experiences or are experiencing these feelings, you would absolutely know what's going on. So it's not for them. And allegedly, it's not for adults because, oh, well, you're sexualizing children, even though all these characters, barring a couple, are 18 or portrayed as such. So I can't for the life of me figure out who exactly the target demographic for this show is, unless it's lesbian soccer moms that are watching it with their kids. The show is terrible with characters. They are stereotypes of stereotypes. They are parodies of themselves in many ways. Sometimes it works out for the show because it helps show us what the character is, and it kind of meets that expectation, and it just goes along with that. Other times, you wind up with characters like Glimmer, who I'm pretty sure she's bipolar or something like that, because her personality flips on a dime. One moment she is the strong, independent, I don't need no She-Ra kind of person. The next she is super happy and clingy. The next she's depressive. The next she's strong again but anxious. It keeps changing all the time to whatever the show needs her to be in the moment. And then that's if they actually gave a personality to the character, because characters like Bo, for example, don't really have a personality. A lot of the guy characters in this show are just blank slates completely, which works in video games, but it doesn't work in shows where you have a character that you're trying to watch, not a character that you're trying to be. Every guy in this show, and there's not many of them, is either a joke, a gay stereotype, or, and this is the strange one, Hordak. Now, this is where I know that the director has not watched She-Ra, because the only guy that is serious, that has any presence to him, that isn't a joke, is Hordak. The villain, the top villain, the guy who in the original show was a fucking joke. He was a comedy villain. He was played off for laughs. He could be serious. He could be a threat at sometimes, but most of the time he was a fucking joke in the show. And yet here it's the exact opposite. They flipped it around. Every guy is a joke except for Hordak, the guy you'd expect to be a joke. He is super serious and actually looks imposing and threatening. What the fuck is going on here? One of the strangest things to me about the characters is that they made the Ice Princess 11. They made her a little kid. I can understand her being a bit more Inuit-like. That makes sense. That's a change that I'm okay with from the original series. What I don't understand is making her 11. I think the whole point was the showrunner really liked Toph from Avatar and thought, oh hey, I'm gonna do the young, sarcastic, snarky kid because I like Toph, and that's what made her a good character, is that she's young, sarcastic, snarky, not realizing it's the personality and the growth of the character that made her one of the most beloved in Avatar, not that she was younger than the rest of them. You idiot. The plot of the show, the beginning, is actually direct what the original series did for its beginning. That She-Ra was raised by the Horde, that she found out that she's She-Ra. She then turns on the Horde, joins the rebellion, and tries to protect the planet rather than conquer it. That is direct what happened in the original series. So you can't give me the, oh, well, it's a completely different and new story. They actually try to follow it, as weird as that seems. They try for a Voltron style story where things are somewhat episodic, but they actually do follow a very solid plot line. So it may be a little bit individual thing happens in this episode, but they still all tie it together and the events do continue. So you need to watch it in order. You can't watch them out of order. I like that. That's taking full advantage of what Netflix does. Netflix releases everything all at once so you can watch it all at once. This is perfect for Netflix. And it tries to do that Voltron style, or the style that Voltron kind of popularized. The problem is they were only given 13 episodes and it feels rushed. This should have been a 26 episode season, not 13. Or at the very least, like 18. It feels like they had to crunch several episodes together and they didn't do what they were trying to do, which hampers the show. And then there are some episodes that are completely pointless and only exist for OMG, look how super we are for having gays in the show. The one episode in particular, it's called Princess Prom, because of course it is everything you would come to expect. I'm going to show an image of a character that they revamped pretty severely, Scorpia, and then I'm going to show an image of her in this episode. This is going to be in the description. You'll know exactly why they made this episode. It's not even hidden. They are fucking blatant about it. And people are gonna come back and tell me, no, this episode mattered because important thing X happened at the end of the episode, which tied into the next 2 or 3 episodes. They could have done any fucking thing else and had that same outcome happen. But they specifically went for this because they wanted a bunch of women dancing together, showing how progressive and how forward-thinking and homosexual and all that they were. Once again, the fact that you need a cartoon to have gay people so that you feel your existence is validated shows that you need therapy. The rest of the series is okay. It's very hit and miss. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it's just bleh. The animation, it's fine-ish. When they're doing action scenes, it actually does look relatively fluid. It does work fine. Things are not super slow, but they do move at a little bit slower pace than you would expect, but it's not bad. I'm trying to find ways to describe this, but the problem is the show is mediocre at best. It is painfully average most of the time. When it's bad, it gets bad. But when it's good, it's just average. The animation style itself, they tried for the Voltron style of animation. What they ended up doing was Steven Universe. It's blatantly obvious that this is the Steven Universe. I was a Tumblr artist, and Steven Universe inspired me style. I mean, for fuck's sake, they do Steven Universe's like giant sparkly eyes thing, and that's the only other show that I've seen that does that particular thing short of anime. And they do that a lot in this show. It's very obvious. The curvature of the characters, if curvature exists. The styling of the characters, the way that they've built faces and shaped them, everything screams Steven Universe. Like, they wanted to do Voltron, but the art director didn't have the ability, so they settled for Steven Universe. Some of these redesigns I like. Some of them are just god awful. One thing that really weirds me out about this show, and I'm going to get called a pedophile for this, I'm sure. I'm talking about human anatomy. I'm not talking about attraction. I'm just talking about baseline. This is not how humans work. There's very little curvature in any of these characters. They're pretty just straight down. Some of them you do see in both the guys and girls a little bit of a curve to show that there's a thinner, more muscular abdomen, and then it goes back down to legs. She-Ra herself is pure flat board. There's nothing. There's no curves. There's not anything. I've never seen a character designed like this. And with the exception of, I think, one good character, and then oddly enough, the majority of the villains, none of these women have breasts. And that's what I find kind of weird for how progressive it totes this show is, how obvious it is that the main hero and the main villain are lesbians, and they're in love with each other, but they're fighting each other because of the differences they have. Just how blatant everything else is. Any sexuality of any kind seems to be verboten in this show. Except for, again, the villains, which seems like it's sending the message that tits are bad, okay? I don't understand this. This is the Powerpuff Girls thing all over again. Why the fuck are you doing this? You're ignoring basic human anatomy. Why? I really don't get it. What purpose does this serve? We want to try and stop people from sexualizing our characters. This is the fucking internet. It's gonna happen whether you like it or not. It's gonna be people like me that go, this isn't how anatomy works, and find it weird from a design perspective. You aren't gonna stop the people making porn. In fact, in some ways, you're gonna encourage them to fix this. Like I said about the story, it's relatively hit and miss. It's painfully average most of the way through. The one Princess Prom episode is the absolute worst thing in the story by far. I cannot stand that episode. It is absolute trash and made for virtue signaling. It's an entire 20-odd minute episode made for the sole purpose of virtue signaling. And then the ending is, it's not good. The ending is kind of trash as well. It's not as bad, nowhere close to as bad as the prom episode, but it's a lot of Deus Ex Machinas all happening all at once. A lot of these shouldn't even be happening according to the way the story progressed, which again makes me feel like they had to cut a few episodes and scrunch everything together really fast just to make sure everything worked. The ending is one giant send-off that friendship is the most powerful thing on the planet. This series did in 13 episodes worse than what My Little Pony Friendship is Magic did in the first 2 episodes to establish that friendship is the most powerful force on the planet. That may be the record for the gayest thing I've ever said. The way that I view series is the first season I know is going to have a lot of growing pains, and I know is going to be usually worse than the following seasons. So I am a lot more forgiving of the first season of a thing than I am the following seasons. So I will usually rate it the best that I felt through the show, or the peak level that I think the show hit in the first season, and that's about a 5 out of 10. Anyone that rates this from a 4 to a 6, that's pretty much where I'd expect it. I'm saying 5 because I felt it was just average. Sometimes it hit a little bit higher, but it was nowhere near consistent enough to deserve that. So I'm going to give it a 5 myself. The ending is a 3 because of all of the Deus Ex Machinas that just get pulled out of their ass for that one. And then the Princess Prom episode is a 1. I would strongly recommend avoiding that episode if it weren't for the fact that this is, like I said, a show where you do need to watch everything in order to not miss anything. This is a show that I will be amazed if it continues at this quality level beyond 2 or 3 seasons. I'm pretty sure they already have a second season in the works as is. That's mostly done, that they're going to release in about 3-4 months, because that's what Netflix does. Beyond that, I'm going to be a little bit surprised if they don't improve, if they get more. Because I do see the potential here. They can make a good show out of this. The director is largely what's holding them back. I enjoyed the original series of He-Man and She-Ra, so I want this series to be good. And we do not have near enough action series for animation. I want any action series to be good because we need more of those. In its current form, this is not it. And I don't see this sticking around if it doesn't vastly improve. And it absolutely needs to. I'm hoping that they get better and that they don't just focus on, oh, look at all these lesbians, isn't it wonderful? And that be the whole purpose of the show. But unfortunately, with the director that's in place right now, I think that's what's going to be the case, and that's all we're going to get. I'm going to watch season 2. I'm going to see how it turns out. If it's the same thing again, I'm giving up on the show. There's no point. And I would strongly recommend, if that happens, that you give up on the show too, because it's not worth it. With Voltron going out, the next season being their last one, I was expecting a new series to come and take its place from DreamWorks. We didn't get that with She-Ra. We got that more from The Dragon Prince. That series I recommend watching over She-Ra. It does everything She-Ra wants to do, but makes it a good show on top of that. Fix this show, DreamWorks. I don't care what you have to do. Just make it an entertaining show first. Then focus on the diversity second. That's how shows work. You'd be amazed how well received the show will be if you do that. And I'm talking among the audience watching it, not the critics that have given it 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. Because you can get high critical remarks, that don't mean shit if you don't have a viewer base. This has been Math Machine ranting about a kid's cartoon for the last half a fucking hour because I have nothing better to do with my life. I can see all the pedo accusations coming already. This is going to be fun. Peace out.